The wine industry is crushing it right now. And I'm not just talking about consumption, I'm talking about as an investment. Over the last 15 years, we've seen the fine wine market increase 150%. It is taking off right now, and we have the best guest right now that's going to explain why. Welcome, everyone, to Buy, Hold, Sell Special Report on Wine and Investing. This is a 2.0. Our first one was back in Labor Day, and we had Monique Soltani from wino.tv with us then, and she's back here right now. Monique, welcome back to Buy, Hold, Sell.
Monique, I feel like I should be like doing a round of applause and jumping up. Like, that was a great introduction.
These are how many courts I have since our last show in my house.
Oh, right. That felt like WrestleMania. I was like going to come out like.
There you go. Well, I got to tell you, the last time you were here, it was a huge hit for our audience. They loved it. We got all kinds of feedback about it. They loved everything about it. And really, you were just kicking into wino.tv. Then I see the success of it. Now it is really taken off. Tell the audience right now, what are you up to with wino.tv?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just wrapping up my last season. We shot all last year at wine regions around the world and here on the Pacific, here on the West Coast. So it's been incredible. I've been locked in an edit bay, Todd, for 5 months. So I'm just like dying to get out and get your energy, putting this incredible show together, which I'm so unbelievably proud of. I feel like I'm doing the best work of my career. We're traveling to wine regions around the world, and we're getting to the heart of every region. What we're doing is we're bringing people together by breaking bread, opening up a bottle, and connecting through culture. So it's been such a great honor for me to bring my show back to life and to have the reception that I've had. It's been absolutely fantastic. And I'm just so grateful to be here. And you can watch new episodes right now on wino.tv. They're ready to go. We just launched Walla Walla this week. And if you're not familiar,
cool.
Walla Walla is this really great, really teeny tiny wine region with such a big heart. And we went there, we met the winemakers, we walked the rocks, we went to an incredible farm. We ate at a restaurant that was I met a chef who was, struggling during the pandemic, thought he was going to lose it all, and really just crawled his way back up. So it really is about the people behind the bottle that I love so much that keeps me going. So I'm thrilled to talk about my show anytime you want to let me.
Well, that's great. That's great. I got to tell you, I follow you on all of the socials, and I see you constantly in the press right now. You're really getting a lot of exposure.
That's called stalking.
I'll take what I can get. Todd's my only retweet, okay? If I get a retweet, I'm like, what's Todd been doing? Hey, Todd.
I know what
I feel you, T.
There you go. So with all of that, let's talk about this as an investment, because the last time you were on the show on Labor Day, we were talking about some critical wineries that were out there that were doing really well, had some great vintages that were coming out. They had some new product that was coming out for 2023. Mm-hmm. And then I see all the numbers that are coming through. I mean, from a wine industry or investment perspective, this thing's taken off. I mean, you're almost a fool not to really consider this as a viable alternative to stocks right now. But are there any in your travels that you're seeing that are just something that investors might really want to consider?
Todd, you can't drink stocks, okay? So let's just.
Well, look, what I was going to say was, talk about the S&P 500 last year, right? Overall, it was down around 20%. If you look at the fine wine, it was up around 20%, right? So wine is obviously an investment. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can drink it, you can love it. And there's a reason why some of these investments are up and why the wine industry is up. And Tobin just alluded to it. I mean, if you look at Burgundy, for example, up 30% last year. You look at up 19%. So these are tangible assets like real estate, like gold, like things that people can touch, feel, smell, and worst case, you can drink. Look, think about a bottle of Bordeaux in 25, 30 years, even if it's vinegar, it's still not worth zero. Someone's going to pay something for it. Like crypto, I don't know, it's just like, you can drink it. It's always going to have some sort of value to it. And then there's also just the love that you put into it. So if you're on some of these investment platforms where you can invest in wine, that's really great. But the wine lovers and investors that I know, they're the people that want to go. They want to get the bottles. They want to have the experiences in the regions and really collect in the way that adds joy to their life.
Yeah, Todd, I say I'm pointing over here to the Côte de Beaune, one of my favorite areas in the world. here's what's also the dynamic is happening. First off, you had a crappy stock market last year. That's a very technical term. And
Stock market.
and people sort of say, well, Jesus, I'm not doing anything there. Let's look at my wine collection. Let's look at my whiskey collection. I mean, whiskey's on the same path. There was only so much made of Lafroig 1989. That's it. And every bottle that's drunk, there's no more coming in. So there's a strange but perfect economics here, is that the more people consume the wines that have age on them, there's less supply. Now, the other side of it is, particularly in Asia, when I go there for business, I bring wine from our vineyard, Barlow Vineyards, and I bring some other places with names on them that they recognize. Why? Because Asia is all about the face. In other words, your honor and how well connected you are, and so on and so forth. And when you bring them a Chateau Lafite, they do a backflip. And if you want to do business with those guys, bring a Chateau Lafite. Let's just talk in 1990, right?
Well,
if you're going to bring a wine to impress somebody in Asia, what would
yeah, I mean, absolutely, a Rothschild. But you just reminded me of, in 2012, I did a Zoom or Skype, excuse me, it was Skype back then.
Skype, yeah.
I did a Skype interview in 2012 with a director called Warwick Ross. You could still find it on wino.tv. He did a documentary then with Russell Crowe as the narrator. It was called Red Obsession. I think we talked about this. And we talked about a Rothschild and the numbers and the 8, and why the 2008 was historically through the roof because of this consumption and demand from a market that in the past perhaps wasn't as into wine as they became more wealthy, and different classes were able to access of some of these products like we're talking about here. So supply and demand, just like California coastline. It's like they're not making any more houses on the beach, baby. If you bought one, you're grandfathered in, right? Like, worst case, the taxes will kill you, but at least you have someplace to sleep. Rent out 20 rooms.
I'll show you the 20 homes up the street that are now owned by people from Northern California in North Scottsdale. And, they bought a place in Palo Alto 30 years ago for $300,000. Now they sold the dirt for, 10 million. And then they come out to Scottsdale and they're not paying any income taxes. The weather's nicer, and they buy the same amount of square footage with a much better view. And
all right, you got any friends for me? Because this is sounding real good. This is sounding real good, Tobin.
Monique, the first thing they do is they build a wine cellar.
I'm sure. What do they fill it with?
God,
yeah.
I was just up at professional golfer John Rahm, is neighbor way up the street. You know how Beverly Hills, you have Lower Beverly Hills, and then you have Bel Air? We're down.
I don't hang out in Beverly Hills, so why don't you tell us a little more?
Ghetto. We live in the ghetto of North Scottsdale, and if you just drive up about a half mile, you're in the Bel Air of North Scottsdale, right? But everyone is in a wine thing. A lot of people are now, the good wine stores are now creating these big wine lockers. That's where I keep my aging stuff, because I'm going to show you my wine locker. It's my 48 favorite best bottles of wine that I like that are everyday wines. But if I have the entire thing here, it calls to me at night, Toby, I'm 98 Latour. Please drink me. I'm tired.
And when it calls you, you call me, and I'll be on my way over there. I don't care. I'll drive. It's 6 hours from here.
I can't even put brown liquor in my house, because at 10:01, it's the same thing. Don't chatter like me anymore. What?
Todd, do you think Todd has a little bit of a problem?
I know, right? I know.
Another.
So anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that it's the only asset that you can't make any more of, and every time somebody consumes it, the real good stuff goes up in value. It's there's nothing like it. I mean, gold. Shit, you can always find another gold mine. Well, you can't find another 98 Latour, You can't find it. Same thing in whiskey, the same thing. And then as emerging markets get going, if you want to set up a restaurant in Asia and you don't have a big league set of wine and you want to charge premium prices, you're out of business, right? Because again, because of pride, because of face, when you bring your customer to that restaurant in Asia, but particularly China and Thailand and some other areas, if you don't have a big league wine at dinner, hey, nice knowing you. You know, I can do business with anybody. I mean, it's part of the ritual, and they are very, very about ritual. And they are in stocks. We talk about the marginal buyer. The marginal buyer sets the price for a traded security, and that marginal buyer is the person who does not care about price. They want to buy that stock. They don't care about the value. They're price insensitive, and they're the ones who set the value of the stock. Well, it's the same way in the wine business, in the fine wine business. If somebody is, like half of the clients I used to call in China, you didn't know whether exactly, where they were getting the profits, nor did you want to ask, shall we say. But if you have a whole bunch of cash you need to spend, they go to the wine thing. I mean, they go to wine and they go to whiskey. And so that's why I think there are some partnerships now, right, Monique?
There are.
Masterworks type things that you can invest in them?
Yeah, there are. And that's one thing I want to get into, because when we had this show back in September, and then we had Buy Hold Sell had the advertising relationship with Masterworks, which is one of these partnerships that actually you could buy shares into fine art. And so, and now an artwork. And you actually see this now. We're coming up on the Kentucky Derby, where you see with horse racing, they do the same thing, where you could buy a share. You could buy a share of a horse, and it could be whatever amount, and therefore you don't own the majority of the horse, but you have a share of the horse. Therefore, you can say, hey, yeah, I have a horse, and say it's running.
But they've been syndicating. I grew up near Santa Anita. They've been syndicating horses for longer than 200 years. It's right. But now anybody can do it. In the old days, you had to write a big check and stuff.
Anybody could do it. But now we're getting into wines. Now you can actually do the wine industry. I mean, as a side note, I'm thinking of doing this for a Ferrari. So if you guys want to buy into a share, I can hold the Ferrari.
How much a share? And do we get to ride in one? Can I put the girls up in school in a Ferrari?
Yeah, there you go.
Look, I live in Southern California. They're a dime a dozen around here. Please. I'm joking. I'm joking. What you're saying is,
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to send you the picture of the Ferrari I was looking at last night down the street. Again, in the ghetto of North Scottsdale, you don't see as many, but if you go like 400 feet, all you see is Ferraris and, Lamborghinis and everything is crazy. It's not wine. All right, so wine.
Yeah, you're talking about like vent.com and those sorts of sites where absolutely the everyday consumer of wine who wants to, maybe they like it, but they don't know how to go source the bottles. They want to be in this space because they know it's a hot space. They know it's going places, right? They can get in on the action too. Same like someone who can't, get a Picasso in their house or whatever. You can go to Masterworks and you can be a part of this. And I think anybody who has any sort of assets or money to invest, it's great to invest in things that you already believe in, that you already love, and that you're already excited about, right? I mean, so it makes a lot of sense. I think in terms of, added value for your life, personally, I think it's, if you are interested in wine, you're better off getting a collection and doing it that way, just because you do have something tangible and it's not this sort of broad, this broad spectrum.
I used to have a bunch of tangible
but
wine.
Then you have, the issue where you might just consume it, right? Or there's a fire, things.
I've liquidated my assets in my wine portfolio.
So clearly, Tobin can speak to why maybe not having them in the house or anywhere within reach is a good idea.
The good stuff has to be like 5 miles away. It is.
But with that though, you're never going, if you buy a share into one of these, like at Vint.com, you're never going to actually see the wine. I mean, the wine is elsewhere.
Just like you're not hanging the Picasso in your house, right? You're not going to bring you that horse is not. That horse is not in your backyard, right? So you are getting in on the action. You are a part of the industry. You get to have a little piece in it. Just like if I have a piece of Berkshire Hathaway stock, right? It's like, I have a piece of it, but like Warren's not coming over serving me dinner. So you have a piece of something
don't count yourself short. Okay.
I don't know. Like I said,
Warren may be 99, but he's a vital 99. All right.
I have 2 young children, a single mother. Warren, call me.
There you
I'm
go.
kidding. Yes. Look, regular people can get in on the action. They can have a piece of this art, if you will. Wine has always been a work of art. And to have a piece of it, to have access for everyday people, I think is incredible. And some of these buy-ins aren't too high. But, you know, again, you have to have money to play with, and you have to have, and now, right now, like I think I would maybe sent this to you in an email, like, let's put it under the mattress. People are a little bit scared. Where do I put my money? What's a safe investment? Inflation's out of control. So if you go buy a bottle of wine right now, it's like, you know, you might be a little bit nervous. Oh, is the price going to go up or down? I believe it's going to go up. For example, when we were talking in September, I said to you, oh my gosh, Napa cabs, they're $300 a bottle. 7 months later, now I'm like, oh, wait, they're $350. Wait.
Wow.
Right. So then I was looking at my notes for some of these really great wines. I want to tell you about a couple of them, you know, sort of luxury wine. And I looked down and I was like, now they're $350. But I remember us specifically speaking 6-7 months ago and me saying they were $300 up from $150. So to say inflation is transitory is a joke. It's going up.
Oh, now you're an economist? Really?
Am I an economist? Please, I've been predicting this the whole time.
Your lane, Soltani, okay?
Say that again? No, stay in my lane. Okay, here, let me be
you're talking out of the wrong orifice on that. Look,
I'll be the little girlie. You think it's transitory?
No, it's not transitory. That's not the issue.
Oh, so don't talk about things I don't know about.
Napa wine had this little thing called the salt fire.
Right.
At our Barlow vineyard, we literally lost 5.5 acres. Everyone that I know in the Calistoga area and hills and farther down lost all their grapes in the 100%. Fire. And what's happened is there's a shortage of wine that's drinkable right now. Now, you wouldn't wish that on anybody's soul, but that, again, unfortunately, is part of being in the wine business. Remember, in Beaune, they get a lot of fog. And if they don't get enough sunshine between the time that the fruit needs to start to ripen and not, you throw it all away. Last year, they threw away, half of their Chardonnay, my favorite Chardonnays of all time. So weather is part of this thing. The cool thing about buying the bottle is it's already been done. You don't have any weather risk. You don't
100%, Tobin. I was never making light of that. What I'm saying is, first of all, I started covering weather and wine for the Weather Channel back in 2014.
That's right.
So I very much know that weather and wine are deeply rooted. They're deeply connected. And this is life events, tragedies, fires happen, earthquakes happen, bad harvests happen, things happen, and is an integral, vital part of people's lives. What I'm saying is we're not going back to $150 bottles of Napa Cab, regardless if there's never another fire or bad harvest again.
You're talking about the top.
Yeah, like people don't really necessarily move backwards in price in this big way. So if you're someone who's investing and you're going to buy a product, you can assume it's going to go up. I don't think we've maxed out at $350 a bottle, I guess is the point I was trying to make. Certainly never making light of any sort of thing that has happened to the industry that I obviously love very much.
Well,
All right, well, let me give you an example.
Your take. Well, first of all, your take is brilliant, and I completely understand it. And you are right. This is something you are an expert on when it comes to that weather side of it too. But I do believe that you are right, because the inflation argument can be made. I'm sure there's added labor costs as well when you're developing these wines, and that help increase the cost of those bottles. So going from $300 to $350 in a few months, I mean, it's a 16% increase in 8 months? That's incredible. I mean, that's a good return.
Let me show you another thing about wine. It's one thing, when I worked at the Aspen Grog Shop back in the 19th century, and the Texas boys were doing well on oil. It's not oil, it's just one single, it's oil. And they'd fly up and they had one, Learjet for the family and one Learjet to bring the wine home, because there was no refrigerated wine place in Texas. And by the way, if you are going to invest in wine, you have to have a place to refrigerate it, okay? And you needed to buy it from a place that was, and they need to be able to show you that it's been refrigerated. Anyway, so they'd come in, Billy Bob, Jimmy Bob, Tommy Bob, and I had already opened up the 8 most expensive bottles of wine. We're the only, Latour, the only Chateau Cheval, in the Western United States at that time. This is the late 70s. Mm-hmm. And OMG, it was fantastic. But they would all come in and say, "Hey, Billy Bob, what do you like in wine?" He says, "I like a wine that's smooth." And I said, "Okay, I've just opened up one for you. It's this one you may have heard of. He tasted, man, I love that. But that tastes just like silver oak. Well, guess what, Billy Bob? That is silver oak, you moron. I would give them the Chateau Saint Cheval. This is really like one of the world's greatest wines, and I'd be like, yeah. And I say, you know why you don't like it? Because it's not old enough, Billy Bob. That's why you buy this stuff and you put it away. That silver oak that I bought was at 1973, and it's been in like 79.
Older than me.
Yeah. So, but again, I'm telling you now, the other way to make money in investing in wine is find somebody like Di Costanzo, which is a very small boutique, 2,000 cases, Monique.
Yeah.
Made by the
250, yeah.
Yeah, or 250. Right.
No, they were 250. If they're up to 2,000 now, kudos to them. Yeah, you were just there.
Yeah, I was just there. This is the other thing in the wine thing is there's a lot of fakery, by the way, and particularly a few rich people, I will leave their names out, would get sold. They would get sold wine that was imposters. And it's been done all the time, and particularly the labels. Well, there's only one of these. You can't fake Di Costanzo, number one. Number two, everybody talks about who the winemaker is, right? Well, Monique, tell them what was that winery that the winemaker for here worked at?
Massimo Di Costanzo used to be the day-to-day winemaker at Screaming Eagle, and obviously he's trained at UC Davis, a huge pedigree. It's so funny you should bring their legacy label. They're beautiful Napa Cab. I brought their new Pinot that they have. That they have now. They just launched the
ordered
Pinot.
that.
Did you get it? Oh, okay, fun. So
Costas,
their Pinot that they just went out with.
Example, Todd, of finding an up and coming wine. The most money I've ever made in wine was not buying a Chateau Latour or so on and so forth. It was from an up and coming winery. I bought a Ridge years ago, like in the early '80s. They had just started, and they were up in Santa Cruz Mountain. I mean, who the hell would do wine from up there, right? Turns out to be huge. So these are the type of guys. I mean, I just happen to love them. They're great people. We just had a bottle of this. Like I have some big clients coming out next week, and this is going to be the featured wine at our Osabuco dinner. And
Toby, can you put the bottle into the screen? The viewers won't be able to see it.
Oh, how do I do that? Oh, I go
He's
this
got
way.
It right there. Yeah.
Now you had it. Yeah, you could just move the bottle. You don't have to move the camera.
Oh, okay.
Like this. Let me show you.
There you go.
Yeah, see, I can see hers. It just for me, all I see is it backwards. So I'm looking.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours, Tobin.
All right, that's another show. That's another show.
I can't. I have so many cheap cliches when I'm with you guys.
I know.
You guys bring out the best in me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, let's end this block on that note. And when we come back, I really want to talk to you, Monique. You've been traveling everywhere with wino.tv. I really like to get into some of the conversation and what you've been experiencing over the last few months since you were on the show.
Todd, should I go now and just leave you two alone? Because this is obviously
we need our privacy, Tobin.
You obviously what you've been planning anyway. So why don't you just come clean?
So you have to stay, Toby. You stay. Okay. You could be the chaperone.
You are the anchor. So. You're the anchor. You're the glue.
You're the comedy. Plus, you have all the props. And Toby's going to give us a view of his wine cellar. He's going to tell.
No, this is not my wine cellar.
What are you going to show us?
This is my day-to-day wine fridge. To show you day-to-day.
Let's tease it. We'll tease it. We'll tease it. We'll tease it for everybody. So if you are listening on the podcast, you definitely will want to watch the video. But please stay with us. We got Monique Soltani from wino.tv on Buy, Hold, Sell Special Report on Wine and Investing. We'll be right back after the break.
Hi everyone, I'm Veronica Dudo, and welcome to Buy,
Hold, Sell. If you have the Russians that are going into Ukraine, the Americans and the Germans and everyone else in Europe is going to say, hell no.
If Russia doing things, logically was their MO, I'd agree with you. Yeah, Todd, why don't you get him on a phone call right now? Hello.
Financial News TV, just the way you like it. Fast-paced, unadulterated. In your face, rock and roll style. Join us next time on Buy, Hold, Sell Live.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to remember all that. I can't even remember.
Oh, God.
Yeah, well, that doesn't. I want you to, oh, my God. Fast pace, no, oh, sorry.
Take one.
Fast pace, no holds barred, in your face rock and roll style.
Woohoo!
Good sign.
Let's kick some
Welcome back to Buy, Hold, Sell, a special report on wine and investing. We have a very special guest and a dear friend of ours, Monique Soltani from wino.tv. And Monique, this is her second time on the show. The first time we did this, it was the audience loved it. We talked all about wine, we talked about investing, and we talked about her travels. And right now, Monique, since the last time you were on the show, which was Labor Day, you've been all over the place. I've been seeing you, you post these videos of these travels that you have on wino.tv.
Yeah.
Any particular ones that are your favorites? I know you're probably discovering all kinds of wines out there. Tell the audience.
You know, I get that question a lot, and I always think like the last, my favorite is usually the last person I interviewed, because that's the last person I fell in love with. I fall in love with every single person when I hear their story. So yeah, there's been so many great experiences, but I'd love to tell a story. It's kind of like my season finale, which was in Lodi. And the thing about Lodi, California, which you might not know, they have the largest concentration of old vines in anywhere in North America. Yeah. They actually have the oldest vine in the world right there in Lodi. But what I love about Lodi is the people. When I was there, I interviewed a man named Gerardo. He is from Anaya Vineyards. This is the Nebbiolo that he put in the bottle. What I love about Gerardo is his grandfather.
Hold it a little closer to the camera, would you, so we can see?
Yes, sir. Well, I have all these lights, so I don't know if you could see it very well, but I can get you, Anaya. You'll see them on my show when we release this episode coming up in a couple weeks. His grandfather came to this country as a part of the Bracero program and in the 40s. And now his grandson is putting grape to glass. And these are the kinds of stories that you'll find when you watch my show that I look out for. And then the wine stands up. This is a beautiful bottle of Nebbiolo. It'll be great with grilling. This summer you're doing a barbecue, or the spring, whatever you're doing, this is a beautiful bottle. It's going to hold big with some of these really great meats. And then the other thing I'm going to do this season, a new episode, I'm going to do a story on diverse Napa. And what does that mean? Napa gets a rap about maybe not having the diversity that maybe some people might think that they don't have, but they do have. And I want to do a whole series. Well, they do, yeah. But there might be a perception that there isn't. So I have this idea to do a show about diverse Napa, and I'm going to highlight some people that you might not know. And in doing this, I came up with and discovered a brand new producer that I didn't know. They're doing their inaugural vintage, and this is a rosé. And I brought this specifically for Tobin. This is Simon Family Estate, and this is their Tigress. Nice. Juice, like you talked about before on the last one. This is a Tigress rosé. Take a look at this bottle. Beautiful.
I love that bottle. Wow.
I love it.
Yeah, this is an incredible, impeccable pedigree behind this wine. So the story about the family here, the Simon family, he came over, he was an Iraqi immigrant. He worked his way up to the great American success story. And then he teamed up with a winemaker. His name is Mayan, an Israeli Jew, a very famous winemaker in Napa Valley. They came together. They're doing their inaugural vintage. I'm going to go up for it in a couple of weeks. And the rosé is a more affordable price point at $45 a bottle, but their Napa Cab's debuting at $350. Cardinal is another Napa Cab. This is incredible from winemaker Chris Carpenter. They're doing a really great bottle there. 2019 is around $350 a bottle as well. But, these are pedigree people in the Napa Valley. And so those are just a couple. I got to go on forever, but I know Tobin's got all kinds of stuff he wants to show us.
Monique, what grapes are going into that rosé?
That's 100% Grenache.
It is Grenache, okay.
100% Grenache.
All right, so the other question I have is, I have never heard of anybody who's ever grown Nebbiolo in California and made money doing it. So,
well, I don't know. Does anybody make money doing anything anymore? He told me the story.
No, this is like,
where are we making all this money?
Nebbiolo, half of the people go.
Right, and it's funny. I asked him because I asked him this question because you think Lodi, you think Zen, you think some of these vines. carrying on some of this stuff. And I said to him, hey, why Nebbiolo? So you asked the good questions, Tobin. And he told me that when he was in Baja, he was doing a lot of research over in Mexico, and he was tasting the grapes there, and he really fell in love with Valle de Guadalupe. They're doing some really great Nebbiolos over there, and he wanted to try to bring that back. And so that's why he produced a Nebbiolo.
Well, that's for another show, but people have no idea how much wine now is being made in Baja California.
Well, that's another show I plan on doing too. I mean, there's so many. That's why it's so great. I mean, there's regions and stories like this all over the world. You don't need to be with the big Napas and Sonomas. I love them and I'll go there. But there's these smaller places with these incredible stories that are making wonderful wines as well that they deserve the spotlight.
Yes.
No, that's great. So Toby, so I know that you have several wines. You have I guess it's somewhat of a wine cellar. You want to show the audience and give them a tour of your personal wine collection.
I'm going to turn the camera around.
But real quick though, maybe start it and really tell the audience, because I know that when you lived outside of Washington, you had quite the wine collection, and unfortunately, I don't think you were able to transport it, right? Is that, or you tried to sell it, or what? I don't know what the story was.
Here it is. Number one, being a Scotsman, I could not personally vow myself to drink a wine that I bought for $300 that somebody will pay me $3,500 for. I'm just too cheap. And then I had some big Jeroboams and stuff, and people would buy them online, certified for $7,500, $8,500.
Yeah.
And again, I did one for a bunch of friends and we drank. It was fabulous, but to me, that's nonsensical. I love the whole idea though of taking that money and then putting it back into,
So now you're rebuilding the collection, and there you are in Scottsdale, Arizona. You're the envy of everyone in Arizona right now. You have the best collection, and now you're going to share it with the audience.
No, like I said, if you get out of the ghetto of North Scottsdale and you go up the street a little bit, those are some wine cellars. Okay, even your father-in-law's, I bet, up that way up the street from the ghetto, he's probably got a very nice one too. Let me turn this around here. I'm going to try to show you some ideas here. So
now, are you giving us this tour, or is this Coleman the butler that's giving us the tour?
No, this is Coleman the butler. Here's my point. This Brunello Montalcino is a 2013. I love this maker, Grappolo. You can buy this, and I'm going to get these guys to be a sponsor of this show at winetext.com. I love those guys.
Okay.
I bought this 2013 for $55 a bottle. I don't know, a couple years ago. It's now $250.
No way. Monique, are you familiar with that
this Montecciano, same thing. I love these Italian wines.
Yeah, I'm going to Abruzzo in June. Yeah, and I'm very familiar with the wines. But what was your question? Yeah. I was a speaker at Brunello.
I love going up into the town. It's this little podunk place surrounded by 20 or 50 feet of rock, so that the way that the people wouldn't attack them. Anyway, I like winetext.com a lot for that reason. Now, here's this Di Constanzo, by the way. I have a case of this sitting on. This is the same one. There's the same. I'm sorry. Now let me go value here. So Peugeot is a longtime friend of us. They make a Cabernet Franc, F-R-A-N-C, that usually gets blended, but they were the first ones to do it as a varietal. Absolutely fantastic. This Noviello is a new winery up in Napa that's doing a blend that is like $40. You can't beat that stuff, man.
Tobin, I'm getting seasick. You got to try
it. Toby, have you been drinking while you're doing it?
Maybe. Hang on.
Pour the glass.
Here you go. Well, here's my final one. I'll hold it here so you don't kill yourself.
Oh, okay. Yep. Know them. Okay. Know die.
So Clinker Brink for an everyday wine. And these are old vines. I thought the oldest vines, by the way, were in Georgia, Russia from like 200 BC. I may be wrong.
Did you hear me say in North America, or were you not listening to that part? Just curious.
It's just when I look at you, I can't hear anything.
Oh, okay. Because the word North America flew out of my mouth.
Yeah, okay. All right, so Old Vine Zinfandel for Klinkerbach. This is a 2019. You can buy it from a lot of places, Total Beverage, etc., for $18.
Mm-hmm.
And I have put this wine against much higher priced Zin because I like Zin. I think to me, Zin is what I have with Italian food or what I have a big steak or something. There's a little more flavor. Anyway, my point is that you don't have to spend a bunch of money here. I'll turn my camera around.
What are those fortune
Yeah, what do
cookies?
you have there?
Can you open up some of those fortune cookies and read one? I'm dying to know. How does this end?
You keep a collection of fortune cookies?
How
You're in
does it end,
Scottsdale.
Tobin? Tell us, read the fortune.
That's how we tip the home help around here.
Ye shall be rewarded. That's what the fortune says, with bottles of wine.
Or, whatever. All right, this is it, Monique. This is no
Okay.
setup.
Oh boy, drum roll.
Oh,
It's
weird.
a
Let me
buy, hold,
read it
sell
here.
exclusive.
Soon, someone new in your life will become a very good friend.
Oh.
Will they be
how about
bringing a bottle of Ridge with them?
I don't know. let me open up the one more here.
All right, one more
right.
for the audience.
Very soon, Todd will realize he has no chance with Monique. I can't believe it. I can't believe that.
That's amazing.
Deeply
Amazing.
personal. Those are some fortunes you got there,
Those
Tobin.
are
They
crazy
are.
for you.
They
I don't
really
know.
are. Crazy valuable. That's nuts. Well, that's wonderful.
Incredible.
Toby, that was a great tour of your wine cellar. I got to say,
It's
I
not
can't
a wine
wait.
cellar. It's
Well, we have a
little
3.0. I just can't wait for that one. So I'm sure we'll have to get in the golf, take a ride on the golf cart to get to it. So it'll be
Maybe you'll invite us
much
to
more expanded.
Scottsdale.
Yeah, right.
Anytime.
We'll have it at your place.
Anytime.
No doubt. At the
All right, kids.
compound. All right. Well, listen, this was fantastic. So thank you for the audience for watching us here for Buy, Hold, Sell Special Report on wine and investing. Monique Soltani, you can reach her at wino.tv. Of course, she's across all of the socials right now. And obviously, you can check out our retweets because we obviously will be promoting her as well. That's great. So, Monique, thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. I know Toby does as well. So, on behalf of Monique
sort of like her.
Soltani and Tobin Smith, I am Todd Schoenberger. Thank you again for joining us today on Buy, Hold, Sell. Have a fantastic weekend. Take care.
I want you to smash that like button.